Hello and welcome to another video. This is my year-end summation of my guitar collection 2024. So it's the 31st today. This is New Year's Eve. All of the celebrations have been cancelled, unfortunately, near the castle. Not sure if we're going to get fireworks, but due to the high winds, it's all off. So a dreary New Year's Eve for us all. But at least you've got this to look forward to, right? So I'm going to make a short video, as short as I can make it, I promise you, with no guitar playing. You'll be thankful to know. Just a brief description of each guitar, and for my own purposes as well as for your viewing entertainment. So I hope you enjoy. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in 2025. So my first guitar I'm going to show you is a 2023 PRS Silver Sky. So this is a mock sand finish, and it's just a regular Silver Sky. I actually had this up for sale recently, but due to the usual eBay shenanigans and watchers and whatnot, I decided to withdraw it and keep it, because it's actually too good. So I'm not going to sell it, I'm going to keep it. These are great guitars. They're Stratocaster influenced, obviously, but they've got something else. The pickups are nice and thick, woody sounding. The rosewood fretboard is absolutely gorgeous. It's got birds on it, but if you don't like birds, then tough. It's fantastic. It stays in tune, plays in tune. Bought this new, got a wee discount on it from Guitar here in Edinburgh, where I normally go to buy guitars. Keep the owners in their Rolls Royces and their jacuzzis. This is a great guitar. If you ever get the chance to own a Silver Sky, be it the SE version or the made in USA version like this is, go for it, because they're absolutely fantastic. And I love this guitar. So it's had a stave execution, and I'm going to keep it for as long as I can. So I think they're great. I've got more than one, obviously, as you'll see coming up. So this is my 2023 PRS Silver Sky. So number 2 in the list is probably the second guitar I ever bought. I traded an Ibanez Blazer for it back in 1985 or something like that, back in Sound Control in Edinburgh, if you remember that shop. So this is my 1974 Gibson 335. So I've done a few things to this. I've refretted it. Well, not me personally. It was Bob from Guitar who did a fantastic job refretting the thing. The bridge was actually a Japanese bridge when I bought it. So I put a Tone Pros on it. But apart from the really great refret and the replacement bridge, it's all original. Wee bit of playwear in the back of the neck. But it's a fantastic guitar. Not sure really what the colour is. I thought it was wine red for a while, but it's kind of like a cherry wine red. And the serial number is starts with a 396. So definitely hard to date these guitars. But all the features like the mahogany neck, the Kalamazoo label inside, leads me to think it's 1974. So a great guitar, trapeze tailpiece, great sounding guitar, and it's now really playable with the refret. So I'm glad I had that done. So thanks, Bob, for the refret. He does really good work, by the way. So if you ever have the chance to get some work done by Robert Mould, who works at Guitar in Edinburgh, fantastic. You won't be disappointed. So this is my 1974 Gibson ES-330. So number 3, next up, is my SC Relics Partscaster Telecaster. So this guitar was actually made by somebody called Scott Cameron, who trades now as Golden Era guitars. He's primarily a body finisher, but occasionally puts together builds with, I think, his friend, a luthier. So this has got, I think, an all parts neck, could be Hosco. It's got the SC Relics branding, Clusen tuners, really nice fretboard, great parts, and Monty's pickups. Apparently these were prototype pickups, or so it says in the certificate. But that's it. This is a great guitar. It's got all the body routing of the early tellies, and the wee shelf next to the neck. Fantastic sounding thing. Brass saddles, and just a really great Telecaster in rather an awesome colour. This shell pink, heavily aged. It's got nice checking on it, a couple of dings. It's not overly relic, it's just perfect. And Scott Cameron at Golden Era Guitars does some amazing stuff. Really, really good. So very happy with this indeed. So this is my SC Relics Telecaster. And up next is a Nik Huber Orca 59. So this is kind of like a Les Paul inspired guitar, but made by a German manufacturer called Nik Huber. And it's really sort of like a handcrafted, handmade guitar. It purports to be like a Les Paul, but really it's its own thing. The bridge pickup is further away than from the bridge than a normal Les Paul. So it gives it a unique sound, a lot more honky and kind of characterful. And it used to have, the pickups were made by a guy called Harry Housel. Now I've taken them out and put NOS wire pickups from Mojo, which sound fantastic, not potted, unlike the Housels. And I think it just gives it a nice airy high end. It's a really great sounding guitar and a fabulous top. It's got cedar wood back, and it just feels handcrafted. It's got Brazilian rosewood fretboard, and it came with a certificate if I ever want to sell it, but I'm not likely to. It's a really great guitar. My Nik Huber Orca 59. So next up is my first vintage guitar. So this guitar was purchased in a pawn shop in Toronto in 1989, and I was a big Patti Smith fan. So when I saw this thing, I thought, that's a duosonic like Patti Smith plays. So I bought this. Quite cheap too, by the way. Can you imagine a price in a pawn shop in 1989? They're not fantastically valuable guitars as it is, but it was a poopy brown colour. It was a really kind of like boot polish brown, and somebody had drilled holes into the pickup covers and put Strat knobs to make it look like a mini Strat. But when I took the neck off and looked at the neck pocket, it had Arctic white in it, and that was the colour that these things were originally produced in. So I had a guy called Chris Richards of 3R Guitars refinish it for me in Nitro Olympic White, and he did a bit of relicking on it, so aging, cracking and yellowing. Very authentically done, by the way. Fantastic finish. And I had Bob a guitar refret it, and apart from that, the new knobs, put the proper knobs on it. Bought a bridge cover. I bought Goto compensated titanium saddles, and Bob did a new nut as well, and with slightly heavier strings on it than you would normally put on a guitar, because this is 22.5-inch scale. It now actually plays in tune and stays in tune, whereas previously it didn't. It had the original bridge saddles, and it was just too short a scale to actually maintain a consistent tune. But it's great. There's a lot of wear in the neck, so it's obviously played. Tuners are original. The pick guards are original. The pickups are original underneath. Fantastic thing, and it's the thing that sort of like made me really excited about vintage guitars. So this is my 1964 Olympic White refinished Fender Duosonic. The next guitar was an example of entrapment by Guitar. So they had a Gretsch roadshow, and they were touting around all these Gretsches, and the centerpiece of the display was a rather interesting guitar. It was a Gretsch custom shop guitar with 3 pickups in an aged ice blue metallic finish, and I played it, and it's like one of these things when you play a guitar and instantly connect with it. I thought, oh no, I'm gonna have to buy this thing. It was built by Stephen Stern, the signature on the back, and I don't believe he works for the Gretsch custom shop anymore. He was the pivotal figure in that group that made these Gretches that are as good as the 50s models. Easily. It's a fantastic guitar. I changed the bridge out. It was a tunematic, and that didn't get on with the Bigsby at all. So I put a true arc compensated bridge on, and a wee bit of fettling in the nut. It now actually stays in tune, unlike some of the Gretches. And the Bigsby's fantastic. I had to repaint the Bigsby part of it because all the paint fell out of it in one fell swoop. The Bigsby in black paint just like popped out. So I got some enamel and fixed that. And also when I got it, it wasn't earthed because Mr. Stern had put a wire in to earth it onto the Bigsby, and it broke. So it just goes to show that you might buy a handcrafted guitar, but it comes with all the mistakes that humans can build into them as well. But it's a great sounding instrument. You've got the positions of the pickups. These two pickups, the bridge and the neck, and you've got the addition of the middle one, and a 3-way tone switch, and also 3 volumes. So you can actually balance or bring in the middle pickup into any sound that you put into it. And it's actually remarkably versatile. And you've got a master volume here as well. It takes a wee bit getting used to, and it is a hollow guitar despite appearances. So you can actually get a sort of almost like an acoustic tone out of it. But these pickups are fantastic. So I think they're Filtertrons. I'm not big in Gretsch history, I have to admit, but I had a friend round, Johnny, who's a big Gretsch enthusiast and has lots of 50s Gretches, and he seemed to like it. So locking tuners, you don't get that in 50s Gretches, and really fantastic guitar, kind of like a one-off. There's not another one like it. So I was in pain financially after I bought it, but that was years ago. So now I can just enjoy it. And now for all you bass aficionados out there, I've got one for you here. It's a P bass, Fender Custom Shop Precision, in a really fantastic sort of relic black, the torque pick guard, and what a fantastic thing. I like playing bass. I took it up so I could get a different technique, and it's a different instrument to play. It really takes a special skill to play a bass, and I know guitars thinks bass is easy, but it's not. There's a whole fundamental rethink of the instrument. Chord structures, song progression, counterpoint, melody, rhythm, everything. It's an instrument in its own, and I wanted to get a bit of experience in playing the bass. So I have 2 basses. This is the first one. It's probably from 2022 or 3, 21. Purchased second hand, and what a looker. What an amazing instrument. I'll show you the headstock. It's a really long neck. Good grief. And that's one of the things about playing bass. It's the stretch way up at the first fret, and you have to use a different technique to fret. Not one finger per fret. You have to sort of use first, second, and your pinky a lot. Pinky. So it was actually good for me to try and employ my pinky playing guitar, because you really need to lead with your pinky on a bass. And picking technique, I was trying to use fingers, maybe even trying to use a sort of like a claw hammer technique on it. These plates really help. There's a mute in here. It doesn't really make contact with the strings, but quite often I put a piece of foam under there as well, just to get that sort of thumpy James Jamerson sound. But really great bass, and don't play it as often as I should, but it's really an aid to playing guitar as well. to get a new perspective on a guitar, a bass guitar. So the next guitar is quite unusual. It's a Fender custom shop, but I've not seen many of these around. This is a 72 Telecaster custom. So not the deluxe, which had the 2 wide range Cuneife pickups, but this is the one that was quite often used by Keith Richards, but he used the black one. But this one's strange because it's got a 4-bolt neck plate, and no truss rod, the bullet truss rod. So it's sort of like a mishmash. It's not a true 72, unless they made 72s with the earlier features. This one's got I think it's an ash body. Yeah, it's got sort of distinctive kind of like ash-like figurings. It looks one piece. No, it's a two piece body. You can see, you can always tell by the butt end. And it's got a really lovely dark rosewood finish. And look at that flame on the neck. So I always wanted one of these things, but the 70s models, you know, the prices are going up and up and up because of associations with Franz Ferdinand and whatnot. Even though they've kind of like disappeared almost. They used to be really popular in the 2000s? Got quite a lot of Franz Ferdinand records back there. But they seem to have slipped from view. But this one's the first year that they brought the genuine Cuneife humbucking pickup back. Previous to that, it was just a regular humbucker in a look-alike pickup cover. But this has got the original copper, nickel and iron magnets, C-U-N-I-F-E, Cuneife. And it's got a really hot kind of broadcaster style bridge pickup and compensated brass saddles. This is an amazing guitar. The pickups are quite microphonic, but it really gives the guitar a massive amount of life, and it's a joy to play. It's really a great guitar. Purchased it second hand from Fender Fever, which is a company I keep bookmarked because they've always got great stuff, and I got it for a decent price too. So this is my 2020 Fender Custom Shop 1972 Telecaster Custom. And now another PRS. Now I've owned a couple of PRSs through the years. I owned the McCarthy 1990 or 1999 McCarthy in a Sunburst, and Yellow Tiger McCarthy, and never really got on with them. I don't know what it is about core PRS guitars in that kind of format, but never lasted. Didn't like them. I've also played Sewer. I've owned a Sewer. Didn't like that either. It wasn't a guitar that you really looked forward to opening the case and playing. But all of the guitars that I'm showing you, I love playing, and I can't wait to get them out of the case. I have quite a few of them, but I always enjoy the ones I've got. Now this one is the first year of the maple board on a PRS Silver Sky. So this is my second Silver Sky, but it's not the Nebula, it's a Lunar Ice. So the first limited edition was the Nebula, and they're going for like £5,000 or £6,000. It's kind of like the darker blue flip-flop colour. But this is the Lunar Ice, and it changes colour. So it's got a special paint job, if that counts for anything. But it was the first year of the maple neck, and I wanted a maple neck Silver Sky. I really rate these Silver Skies because if you like a Stratocaster, then this is the much better option than an actual Fender. Even some of the custom shop Fenders, the prices are so enormous these days. I feel they're taking the piss a wee bit, to be honest. And I don't think PRS are, because you can pick these things up. Maybe not the Lunar Ice, but you can pick up a standard PRS Silver Sky made in USA for, you know, perhaps 2,200, maybe even less, and that's brand new. So this is a 1 in 1,000 limited edition PRS Silver Sky in Lunar Ice, and I'm a big John Mayer fan, so I like the Silver Sky. especially like the stuff that he does with Dead and Company, because I'm also a big Grateful Dead fan. So I was kind of overjoyed when I heard him playing with the remnants of the Grateful Dead. So it's a really lovely guitar, clean, stratty, thick, powerful, but still with all the character of a Stratocaster and playability as well. So this is my 2020. I like how they're numbered in the back. Sometimes I forget what year of the guitar I've got. So this is actually numbered 20. So it's a 2020 Lunar Ice. So next on the list is a guitar that I always played in Guitar Edinburgh. When I went in, if they didn't have anything interesting in the electric section, I headed through to the acoustics, and I always picked this one up and played for about 15 minutes or so. This went on for months, until one day I finally thought to myself, I should really buy this, because if I don't, somebody else is going to do it. And funnily enough, after I bought it, somebody was phoning in trying to buy it, and it's too late. So I think I made the right decision. This is a Martin 0018 custom shop with mahogany, but sinker mahogany back and sides, and Adirondack, I think that's how you pronounce it, Adirondack? I always have trouble with that word. Spruce top. But it's an amazing guitar. It's got really fantastic bass response, an amazing sustain, and it's just a fantastic playing guitar with a slightly shorter scale, and it really is a guitar that you would kind of keep forever. And I like the fact that it's self-contained. You know, should there be a zombie apocalypse, or all the electricity goes out or something like this, then you can always drag this out of the case and play. It's a fantastic thing. It's got 12s on it, standard factory strings, and it's got a great sound. It's, you know, a thinner body than the Dreadnought, but still produces a surprising amount of bass, but it's not boomy. It's really clear. It's hard to actually define what makes a really good acoustic guitar, but the lack of sort of like an overwhelming boxy mid-range, a nice even bass, and a zingy top end, and that's what Martins have. They've got this kind of like zingy high-end frequency going on that is amazing actually, because it's difficult to preserve those fragile high frequencies. So they've done it. I love this guitar. So this is I don't know what year it was, quite recent. Martin had a series of guitars with sinker mahogany. That's apparently old mahogany that was at the bottom of a river in Belize until somebody dredged it up and made a guitar out of it. So probably just marketing mumbo jumbo, but works for me. Next up is my attempt to make a guitar. Now, not actually make as in route out bodies and sort of chop up wood and lumber and stuff like that, all the luthier stuff. I assembled it. So I bought bits and put it together. I actually did two, and I sold one of them, and this I kept, because this was the successful one, I thought. The other one was a Broadcaster replica, and it sounded fantastic. I had a really sort of like bold sound to it, but for some reason I didn't get on with it. I had a huge neck as well, maybe too big. I like big necks, but that was massive. This is a big neck too. It's a Musicraft neck, and I ordered it from America. And ostensibly it's kind of similar, but it's a D shape, so it doesn't have the big massive shoulders that the All Parts Fat Neck had, and it's only marginally smaller from top to bottom, but the shoulders are much more graceful, and it's a lot easier to play. So I bought this, and Bob from Guitar mated the neck to the body. He had to put shims in because the neck pocket wasn't exactly the right fit. The neck pocket of this Hosco body that I bought from this Axecaster, already finished in a relic finish, the neck pocket was just slightly wider, weirdly, than it should be. Maybe to accommodate necks with lots of gloopy poly on it. But this is a nitro finish neck, and it wasn't quite snug. So he put maple strips in just to fill in the neck pocket caps, and you can see it's fantastic. And it's got Monty's broadcaster and a Seymour Duncan in the neck. I put a wiring loom in from Charles Guitars. They're quite good, by the way, if you want Relic parts. It's got a Callahan bridge, and it's got Goto compensated saddles and knobs, all Relic hardware straps. I put the whole thing together from bits, neck plates, straps. The holes were pre-drilled, so I think it was reasonably easy. They weren't drilled for the strap buttons. I did that, but the bridge was all pre-drilled, so it was relatively easy to set up the geometry, and it turned out really well. String spacing is fantastic. The frets on this music craft neck is fantastic. Recommend them, by the way. It's a bit expensive, especially if they come from America and you've got to pay duty on it, but it's really worth it. This is a great guitar, and it's a lot heavier than the Broadcaster, but there's something about this, the feel of it, and the springiness and the bounciness of the response. I thought the Broadcaster was a bit more direct, less springy sounding. Difficult to put your finger on what makes one guitar more likable than another one, but I'm going to keep this one. And next on the list is a Gibson USA ES-330 in black. So this was ordered straight from Gibson.com, and in the limited edition black finish that you could only get from Gibson. I quite like the look of the Sunburst and the blonde and the cherry. It looked fantastic, but the black really sold me. So this is the first time it's come back since about 2018. The ES-330, a fully hollow 335 style guitar with a more inset neck. And this is a Gibson USA, so I was kind of expecting QC issues and so forth. No, it's almost perfect. Just a fantastic thing, made by Gibson. And great fretboard, great frets, flawless finish, fantastic sounding P90s, fully hollow, and what a sound. I love this guitar, and it's quite a recent purchase. And next up we enter Les Paul land. So I've owned quite a few Les Pauls through the years, but I actually sold 2 of them plus another guitar to get this. So this is a bit special. This is my Gibson Les Paul Custom Shop Murphy Lab. That's a mouthful. 57 gold top, heavy aged. It could even be ultra heavy aged, I think, actually. I think it's the ultra heavy aged. So you can tell by the back, it's got the full ultra heavy aged treatment. No paint's fallen off yet. I hear all the stories about the aniline dye flaking off these expensive guitars. It's not done so yet. Got fantastic relic jobs though. So I bought this because my pal bought one, and I had a shot of it, and it was incredible. And I hadn't owned a Murphy Lab Les Paul, so this was a treat to myself. I got it from Thomann, and I got quite a considerable amount of money off it for some reason, because Peach were selling it for maybe £1,500 to £2,000 more, and this was cheaper. I don't quite understand why. However, came from Germany in super fast time. Had a few issues with it. The saddle for the E and the B being brass plated, so that's brass and then plated over, had little swarf bits which kind of choked the string and caused sitar effect type of things. But complained to Gibson about it, and they sent me a brand new bridge, another heavy aged one. So kudos to Gibson for that. Fantastic customer service. And now it plays fantastically. It wasn't fret buzz. I thought it was fret buzz at first, but even at the very last fret it was making the sound, so I knew it was the saddle. So just a wee issue there. Maybe they should have sorted that out, but all in all, this has got a unique sound. it sounds kind of like more woody and aggressive at the same time. Well, fantastic guitar, and just didn't disappoint at all. The relicing in the back of the neck took a wee bit of getting used to. It's not perfectly smooth, but you know, that's what would happen with I suppose a vintage guitar if it was left in a dank basement for about 6 months. Not sure that a real 57 would ever get to this stage, but the cracking, the wear on the arm, and the sound of the pickups. These pickups are the best pickups ever made by Gibson, humbuckers anyway. The non-potted Alnico 3 humbuckers that they're making these days and putting into the Murphy Lab guitars is the best humbucker there is. And I've been through a few of them, but you can't get past Gibson's original, especially in this format, unpotted. That's the secret. It's unpotted pickups. They just sound fantastic. You've got to control them a wee bit, and you can't play with high gain. But I guess if you're playing high gain, then you'd want a different guitar, maybe a more pointy guitar. But for us, more traditional players, that's absolutely fine. You won't get any squeal at all. And that bridge is fantastic. So much so that I bought another one from Crazy Parts for another guitar. Something about the brass saddles, which are then plated, possibly with zinc. You can actually see the brass underneath. But really, maybe that's the secret to the Les Paul sound. So this next guitar was the continuation of the Gibson Les Paul. So this guitar is a 1964 SG, originally called the Les Paul because it was a Les Paul signature model. It was then changed to just SG, and this is the 64 version. So it's got a slightly beefier neck, which is good, because the early 60s ones had the 61, 62 SGs had very, very thin necks. And this is not bulky by any means, but it's certainly a slightly more acceptable in terms of girth, as it were. So this is a 64 Murphy Lab heavy-aged SG, just like George Harrison's. I'm a huge Beatles fan, always was. It was the first music that I loved, was the Beatles, and they'll always remain my number one band. Fantastic. And this is what George Harrison played on Paperback Writer, you know, in that video, and used it for a number of years. I think Eric Clapton played a painted one in cream, but the 64 was the one that Gibson decided to go with as a replica. And this guitar I bought from Squealing Pig Guitars, highly recommended shop. Sent very quickly. Did have a bit of a back bow when I first got it, or was it the other way? Can't remember. Anyway, I had to adjust the truss rod, and not sure what was going on there. Maybe just transit. But fantastic shape. And that guy who does demos for Squealing Pig, good grief, what a great guitar player that guy is. Highly recommend Squealing Pigs if you want to buy a guitar. Maybe not the cheapest, but I got a good deal on this. So this is my 2021 Gibson Murphy Lab 64 SG with Maestro, and it actually stays in tune. I used to have an SG, and a Robbie Krieger model, and it never stayed in tune. In fact, it didn't even play without using the Maestro, because the angle of this brake angle in the bridge was just too shallow. They just didn't make it right. The neck didn't have the right angle on it. The whole geometry wasn't designed for a Maestro. This one is. So they're finally getting it right again, and plays fine. Just lube the nut and you're fine. Maestros are great sounding things, but perhaps more importantly, they look cool. And following on from the 64 SG, this is another Beatles related guitar. So this is a Rickenbacker 4003S. So this is like the bass Paul McCartney played, especially in Wings. Well, he reshaped the top horn in Wings, but it was originally the bass he played in the Beatles. Except this one has got the later specs. It's got the different neck pickup, and it's not got the split cover over the bridge pickup, and it's got a redone bridge piece and the vintage knobs, dots instead of the shark tooth, and it's an unglossed fretboard, so it's a natural fretboard. So I preferred that spec, and I always wanted a Rickenbacker bass, especially when I got into bass playing. I've only got 2 basses, and I thought a Rickenbacker and a Fender P bass is pretty much all you need, especially if you're not sort of like a pro bass player, and I'm certainly not a pro bass player. I'm still learning, but this has got fantastic thump. It's got a lot of aggressive kind of like mid treble type of sound, especially if you play on the bridge pickup. The controls are a wee bit unusual, as opposed to like the Gibson. The volumes are down here and the trebles are up here. That takes a wee while to get used to, especially after playing a Les Paul. But a great thing. It's got a one-piece neck through construction and the most fantastic maple. I mean, really, Rickenbacker make fantastic looking and sounding instruments. I've always wanted to sort of like a 360 6-string guitar, not the 12 strings. You can always find Rickenbacker 12 strings for sale second hand or used, because people always think, for my studio career I really need to cover all bases and have an electric 12 string, and they own it for 6 months and then realise that they're too difficult to play, especially Rickenbackers, and they're never going to use it, and they've got like £2,000 tied up in this instrument, maybe even more, and decide to sell it. So there's always a glut of 330 and 360 electric 12s for sale in any music shop and online. I get excited looking at a nice maple glow or a jet glow 360 and then discover it's a 12 string. And I'm sure you can take the 6 of the strings off, but it's not quite the same. So this is a fantastic thing. I should really play bass more often, I have to admit. Just the look of this bass, just like Paul McCartney's. So next up is another vintage guitar. So this is a 1967 Fender Jaguar in Lake Placid blue. Now I bought this from ATB, and Mike Long, he said it was a 66, but when I was having a look at the neck pickup, it had a 67 date stamp on it in yellow print, so you have to go by that. So I'm saying it's a 67, and it's Lake Placid blue. It looks green, but if you take the scratch plate off, it's Lake Placid blue underneath. So all the greening is the oxidization of the clear coat on top of the blue, making it green. This is a CBS guitar, so you can see by the Fender logo there, and the features of it having the blocks and binding, that it's a post-CBS Fender, but just into the CBS era. The neck is like a Gibson neck. It's kind of like big C, not huge. It's like a sort of like maybe a 1959-60 Gibson reissue neck. It's had a new nut. The refret was done prior to my purchase, but it was quite poorly done, and some of the frets had popped up, so Bob, a guitar, glued them back down again, made it playable. Like all my Jaguars, I've got a stay trem bridge and a stay trem arm and collet, just so that this arm remains where it is. I know the Johnny Marr guitars do that now. The Johnny Marr guitars fix all the issues with the Fender Jaguar, and these are good guitars. I've seen Taylor Swift playing one even. So it's got the stay trem bridge, new foam on the mute. Never used the mute, but it looks cool. And great sounding guitar. This is one of the better sounding Jaguars that I've got. They all sound good, but this one is one of the most strongest sounding bold instruments. These pickups, say from like late 64, 65, that era, they're really good. Staggered pole pieces, fantastic guitar. 1967 Fender Jaguar. And now now back to the 80s we go, back to 1984. So this is my third only guitar. This is a Fender Japan JV series Stratocaster. Now I bought this from Music Ground, Doncaster, Leeds, owned by Justin Harrison and his dad, who were later convicted for nefarious activities related to guitar trading. So just be aware, the London vintage guitars, or Hanks, or wherever they're called, because they're run by people who have been convicted of crimes. So this one was sold to me, and it's not fake. It's got Fender Japan in the neck there. The headstock just reads Fender, just like the Strats that we know today. But this was made, pencil date is 1983 on the neck, and I bought it in 84 from Music Ground. And it's the original black finish. Nothing's been done to this. I changed the switch out to a 5-way. But apart from that, and a refret, which was done by Bob again, very well, and a new nut, you can see that I've played it. So that's not a relic, that's me digging my nails into the varnish. So authentic, as it were. I played this a lot when I was younger. It's got quite a thin, skinny neck. It's kind of like an early 60s neck, although it's meant to be a 57, so it's really meant to have the V shape. It's got the correct 12th marker positioning, unlike the actual Fenders of the time, the American vintage, the Fullerton era ones. Those dots are closer together, so the Japanese actually got it right. I don't know who made this. It was some Japanese factory. It could be Fujigen or Tokai, I don't know. But Fender got together with them and started making these Fender branded instruments strictly for the Japanese domestic market. Now, Music Ground imported them, possibly illegally, I don't know, but they managed to get a shipment across to Great Britain, and I saw an advert for this in NME or Sounds, and purchased one. I think it's £449 or something like that, and it came in a sort of like a tweed case, a thinner tweed case, not as luscious as the normal tweeds, but you know, it's a tweed case nonetheless. And I've owned it since 1984, and I'll never sell it. It's got dings and donks on it, but it's a poly finish. It's not nitro. I think the more expensive ones were nitro. This has got Made in USA pickups. It came originally with a Made in USA sticker here, so the pickups are actually Fullerton era pickups. I think they're kind of like black or grey underneath, but really it's kind of like a historic model, because it took the gap up between, you know, Fender and their late 70s models and the Fender that we know today with the historically accurate copies. It's got all the fantastic contouring of the original models, you know, unlike the big thick puffed up look of the late 70s Strats, and it's light. Not sure what the body is. Could be alder, could be basswood, I don't know. Pickups sound fantastic. Neck's a bit skinnier than I like now, but I played this a lot, and I'll never sell it. It's a fantastic guitar. The next guitar is another Gibson Les Paul. Now this is an unusual one. It's a 60th anniversary Gibson Les Paul Custom Shop, 59. So it was made in 2019. And you can tell by the 1959-2019 medallion, and it's a heavy aged, so you can see all the aging in the back. But the unusual thing about it is it's aged by Tom Murphy. Now Tom Murphy now runs the Murphy Lab, and I'm not sure if he does actually much aging these days. He used to do it with a razor blade before they started putting the bodies into thermal chambers and so forth. Got a new technique of doing it, but what he used to do was to hand laboriously cut checking into every guitar, and he made a signature which was down by the bridge volume. So this is from 2019, a Les Paul 60th anniversary reissue of a 1959, which has been hand aged by Tom Murphy just prior to the Murphy Lab being started up. So this is quite unusual. Guitar were selling a number of them. I think it was only about 8 of these guitars, and I've don't hear much about them. But Tom Murphy, his signature is there, and it's sold to me as a Tom Murphy heavy aged guitar. New, cost me quite a lot. But this is a great sounding guitar. It first alerted me to the majesty of the Gibson unpotted Alnico 3 pickups, the humbuckers. Custom buckers, but unpotted with Alnico 3 magnets. That's what they make today. So this one came from the 60th anniversary in 2019. It's got a little tiny wee diamond there. Yeah, it's probably some industrial diamond. It's not fallen out yet, which is quite good. But the aging is great. It's not the same as the Murphy Lab. They did it in a different way back then, with, as I say, with a hand carving with a razor blade. But this is a great guitar, and unlikely to ever sell it. Next one is a 1962 Fender Jaguar slab board. So the slab board guitars are the ones with the flat-bottomed Brazilian rosewood fretboards. It only lasted a month, 2 months, before it was replaced with a veneer, which is the curved fretboard. This is flat on the bottom, and the maple that's glued onto has got a flat profile. It's got flat pull piece pickups. It's a 1962 Fender Jaguar with the characteristic tapered neck on it. So a bit skinny at the first, second, third fret, and gets really chunky up here. It retains its original trem arm. Obviously I've put a stay trem on it. I had to rewire the pickups. I got Oil City pickups to rewind these pickups for me, because especially the bridge always sounded a bit thin and nasally, and I could never get a reading off the pickups, either one of them. It's always reading 1 meg. Now you can read about this on my website if you want. If you go to www.gringopig.com, about the discovery of the wiring and how to diagnose open circuit pickups. But these Fender pickups are liable sometimes to go open circuit, or even shorting inside them. So it's not unknown for Fender pickups to go that way, especially the older ones. So these both read 1 meg. So took them out of circuit, and sure enough, open loop. So I was only getting a sound through the capacitive kind of induction of electromagnetic induction of the signal into the coil. And it sounded, the neck pickups kind of sounded okay, but the bridge pickup was really nasally and microphonic and weird sounding. So I never quite gelled with the sound of this thing. Although I love the shape and the feel of the neck, you know, there's no finish left on the back of the neck. It's just a really great feeling guitar. So once I got the pickups rewound with the original black wax, Oil City pickups did a fantastic job, highly recommended for rewinds and so forth. And suddenly it's back. Suddenly I've got full strong tone on the bridge, and brought it right back. I was toying with the idea of selling it, but no longer. So this is a 1962 early Fender Jaguar in the Sunburst. What a great instrument. So originally this came from Gary's Classic Guitars in Ohio, and sold to me by Johnny, who used to run a website called JTKM Studios. He's subsequently given it up because it was just too much of a headache, I think, because when it comes to people buying guitars, they're not the most reasonable and trustworthy people. You get a lot, even selling in Gumtree and eBay and, well, Reverb as I used to, no longer, because eBay is free. You always got your fair share of time wasters, you know, what's the weight, blah blah blah, you know, people saying, oh, I'll come round to buy it this evening, and then you never hear from them again. So imagine that 10 times. That's why he gave up. He sold me this, and I went down to York to pick it up from him, and very nice chap indeed. So he likes Jags, I like Jags. This is my 1962 slab board Fender Jaguar. So next in this list is a very recent purchase from Gibson. It's a replica of a 1958 ES-335 in a tobacco sunburst, heavy aged. So these were released for some anniversary or whatnot. Possibly. It was the 58, it's the unbound fretboard, so there's no binding on that. And it's a 1958 model. So dot neck, stop tailpiece, ES-335 in, you know, heavy aged. I love heavy aged guitars, you know. A lot of people don't like relic guitars. I can understand it. You know, sometimes if you wanted a PRS, it would look terrible if there was sort of like wear on it and stuff like that, because PRSs are beautiful guitars to look at anyway. You know, pristine, fantastic, luscious finishes and so forth. But you know, there's something about a guitar that feels played in, and especially if it's already been dinged, you don't have the worry of putting a ding in it yourself. That's a big thing, actually. I once dinged a guitar and had to sell it. Telecaster. Luckily it wasn't a very good one. But this big thick neck, big chunky 58 neck, unbound fretboard, these fantastic pickups, the Alnico 3 custom buckers, unpotted, the fantastic bridge with brass saddles which are then plated, stop tailpiece. It's the classic 335, and this one sounds great. It's kind of it's like a Les Paul. I mean, it's not a million miles away from a Les Paul. It's got a big centre block down it. Unlike the 74 335, which had an incomplete block, it's sort of started again just about here, all the way back, but there's a section in the middle where there's no centre block. This one's got the full centre block, so you've got all the stability of the sound at high volume, and it's got lots of checking on it, wear in the middle here. It's really well done, and I tell you, if you're to look at these guitars and you didn't know it was a custom shop, this is the Murphy Lab, and somebody were just to hand it to you, you'd be hard pressed to tell, seriously. It's a great guitar, and I play it a lot. It's got the original nylon nut, fantastic sounding pickups, the long guard. It's a 1958 Gibson Murphy Lab ES-335. And now my second acoustic. This is another Martin. I like Martins. I know there's other great guitars like Taylors and Gibsons and so forth, but I always wanted a Martin guitar. You know, you would see people like Richard Thompson playing them, Neil Young, you know, all the 70s singer-songwriter guys and girls would play Martins. And this is a D28 style Martin custom shop, which has been aged. The top's been aged and ambered. It's got fantastic woods in the back and the sides. So I forget exactly which model this is, but it's got the fancy back in rosewood, but it's a special grain. I forget exactly the model of this thing, but it's got all the D28 appointments. It's got the herringbone binding. It's got the H top. I think it's Adirondack. I'm sure that's how you pronounce it. A modern neck though, so it's not the any of the year-specific reissues. It's got the modern profile neck, which I quite like because you can get up here and not struggle, because the other ones are massively chunky up here. And it's got the volute at the back, the Martin volute. Fantastic grain to the woods, and it's got a fantastic sound which is more bassy than the 0018, but not in an uncontrolled way. You know, I can actually feel this body vibrating just as I'm speaking at it, so it's got a fantastic top. You know, I can actually feel the vibration in the sides just by talking at it. It's really sensitive and produces a lot of volume. It's also dynamic, so if you play lightly, it plays softly, and if you hit it, it's deafening. If you're playing this for about an hour with your ear in this position here, you get tinnitus. It's a big loud guitar, but it doesn't have to be. It can be quite subtle too. So this is a guitar that I bought, and again from Guitar. I've not even installed the strap button at the bass. It's a fantastic guitar, and I expect to always have this thing. It's fantastic. It's got 13s on it, just like how Martin wanted them, and it might be difficult to play, but it certainly keeps your hand in good working order. I've tried it at 12s. The neck angle changed a wee bit, and the sound didn't sound as good. So I think Dreadnought's like 13s. So this is my reasonably recent Martin custom shop D28 style guitar. They don't call them D28s, but certainly got all of the features of one. Next up is another Fender Jaguar. This is a 1965 Olympic White Fender Jaguar that I bought again from Johnny before he started his JTKM Studios malarkey, and he was just selling guitars, buying and selling because he loves them. And as we all know, guitars are fantastic things to own and play. These all get played. Not one of them is stashed away for any length of time. This one is a 1965, so it's got the veneer board, staggered pull pieces, the great pickups of this era, and it's in an original Olympic White, which is kind of like yellowed out a wee bit, and it's got checking in the back, the L plate, kind of early 65, late 64, early 65. It was still pre-CBS really. The CBS features are the F plate in the back, and binding first with dots. The clay turns into like a paraloid. So this has got the paraloid dots, but it doesn't have the binding, it doesn't have the blocks. So it's still really pre-CBS. Matching headstock, torque guard, and they made them so much better in these days. You know, today's even the Fender Custom Shop can't make a tortoise shell guard. They didn't make it from real tortoises, by the way. Poor tortoises. No, it's a plastic, probably a celluloid material. So I wouldn't try and heat it up or put any naked flames next to it, because it'll burst on fire. It's again got the stay trim and the stay trim arm and collet. The only one I haven't done that to is the 62, because that didn't need it. Oh, it stayed in place by itself. But this, you can move and it stays exactly where you set it. And there's no clunking. Every single little movement results in a bend. So it can be really subtle. So you can do sort of slight little swoops and so forth. Now, I got into Fender Jaguars because of a guy called Kurt Weill, who's one of my favourite artists of all time. And he played Fender Jaguars. And I just fell in love with Kurt Weill's music. I've seen him a couple of times. And the Fender Jaguar is the instrument that he played quite a lot back in his early day. He's got lots of guitars now, but still brings out the Fender Jaguar occasionally. So I always wanted an original Fender Jaguar. First one I got was the 62, and this was the second, sold to me again by Johnny. So, a great guitar, a bit of flaming in the neck there actually. Fantastic sounding and playing instrument. Of course, buying guitars by being influenced by players is a thing. So, of course, when I discovered John Mayer, not that long ago, I loved his music, and especially his guitars. So this is a Silver Sky. Now you might think, yeah, we've already covered one of these, but this is different. This is the dead spec model. So it's got the blaster on it. This is the guitar that was built in tribute to Jerry Garcia's alligator guitar that he played most often in the early 70s, maybe up to 73. It's on Europe 72. So it's a guitar that's different than spec. It's got a different bridge. It's blocked up. There is no tremolo. Battery compartment for the blaster that you switch on with this little switch. But apart from that, and the ash body, so you can see that it's actually got an ash body, not an alder. So you can see the grain coming through. So the differences between this and the other Silver Sky are the brass nut, the string retainer, which is all the features of the alligator guitar, the different bridge, the blaster, and different body wood. But apart from that, it's exactly the same. This sounds fantastic, especially when you flick the switch. I would say passively, my other one sounds better, fuller. This one sounds a little thinner, but with this in place, you really get Jerry Garcia mode. It's quite uncanny. Go to the middle position there, and switch the blaster on, and don't have too much distortion, and suddenly you've got this fat Jerry Garcia sound coming out. Of course, can never play like him. Some people can, and John Mayer does a good impression. And there's another guy who played with Phil Lesh. Can't bring his name to mind at the moment, but just uncannily like Jerry Garcia. Had his own style, that guy. So this is the 2023 limited edition, 1 of 1,000. So when you get that plaque and it says 1 of 1,000, this isn't the first, it's just 1 of 1,000. The dead spec Silver Sky. The next guitar is another Gibson. It's a Junior. So this is the student model guitar that was really picked up by a lot of people. So this guitar was originally made in late 50s as a student model, and there was an SG shaped version of it as well, but this is the 1958 reissue with the big thick neck. The neck is almost exactly the same as the 335, the 58 reissue. 1 single P90, 1 solid block of mahogany, torque pickguard. I've added the compensated bridge as a mojo axe, and that really helps the intonation. And it's got the tiny wee cheap tuner buttons, big thick neck, nice fretboard. Wish it was a bit darker. My friend has got a real 59 that he picked up for very cheap price indeed, because it had a headstock break. And that Brazilian rosewood is fantastically dark and chocolatey. I wish this had it, but can't have everything. So this I bought off eBay at a bargain price. I was the only bidder on it, and he didn't make any more than his reserve, but he was happy with it, and I'm happy with it. The price new these days is kind of exorbitant, really, but it's 1-piece mahogany. It's got a lovely smell. It's difficult to describe that. It's you could make a perfume out of it. In fact, Gibson, if you're listening, make a perfume. It's got a great sound. You need to be a bit careful with the volume and the tone. It's got the standard 50s wiring, so as you turn down the volume, it thins out. So if you want a deeper sound, you can stick the tone pot about 2 or 3 and bring the volume up. So it's a balancing act. So there's lots of flexibility in this P90 actually. You can get sort of neck pickup sounds from it. Not quite, but you know what I mean. A bit more muted, or really quite attacky lead playing if you just max everything out. That's a terrible expression, rock and roll machine. I cringe every time I hear that, but I wouldn't say it's a rock and roll machine. It's just a really good, basic, and surprisingly cool sounding guitar. So this is I don't know what year it is, but it's a 58 Les Paul Junior reissue. So back into Jagland here with a 1965 black Fender Jaguar. Oof. So this one I purchased from Peter Guitar Hunter in Denmark, and had it for a really good price. This is quite a while ago, prior to the period that resulted in guitar prices going absolutely nuts. I think they're recovering now, but this was prior to that. So it's for a good price, and it's a factory black, matching headstock without the Jaguar logo, because the Jaguar logo wouldn't be seen because it was black, so they snipped it off. Factory black, custom colour Jaguar in fantastic condition. Just a few marks here and there, nothing bad. L series plate with the stay trim arm and collet. I've kept all the originals, obviously. I've not had any refret done to it. Had a new nut because it just didn't play correctly at the first, second and third fret. So I don't mind refretting or changing things. Guitars need to play the best that they can. Otherwise, what's the point in them, right? I play these things. So this is just a fantastic sounding guitar. Strong and bold. It's not got any of the problems with tuning that some Jaguars have because they've not been set up properly. You know, you need to shim the neck. You need to make sure there's sufficient height in the bridge to get a break angle. And these stay trim bridges really help because of the single notch. There's no rattling, stays in tune perfectly, and the tremolo vibrato's pitch, I think. Really sensitive, small touches. You can even do the special effects on the trem arm, like a Charvel or something. And really good strong pickups with the veneer board, the staggered pole pieces, and this is featured in a book, Fender The Golden Years. So it's attested to in a reference book of Fender guitars, custom colors. So this is my 1965 black custom color Fender Jaguar. So staying in the Fender realm, this is a 60th anniversary Strat reissue, custom shop. So it's the 60th anniversary, 1954 Fender Stratocaster in, I think it's Desert Sand, which I think was a Fender undercoat. But they did them in all sorts of colours, sunbursts, this Desert Sand, other colours as well. It's kind of like a heavy aged, so all the the varnish has been taken off the back of the neck. It's got a nice stripe in it, lots of wear in the back, and the 1954 style pickup covers and knobs, which is a bit of a problem considering the original ones broke because they're made from Bakelite. And this being a true reissue, I've gone through a number of sets of knobs now because they break. I've not had any problems with the pickups though. They split as well, apparently. So this is quite a big chunky U-shaped neck. I love big chunky U-shaped necks as long as they don't have shoulders on them, like the all parts fat neck that I had in the Broadcaster replica. But it's got the round string tree, it's got the rounded pickup covers, the unusual looking volume and tone knobs, kind of less of a skirt on them, they're more kind of like a little hat. 5-way switch, blocked off the tremolo. So I don't like Strat tremolos because I plunk my hand here, and if they're floating at all, I just bend things out of tune. So I don't use tremolos and Strats. I've got Jaguars for that. So this is a great guitar. I played it a lot, and bought it in 2015. It was the last of the 2014 60th anniversary guitars, and compared to today's prices for a custom shop Strat, it was a steal. I wish I could go back and buy them all from 2014, 2015, because prices were at least a bit reasonable then. So this is my 2014 60th anniversary 1954 Fender Custom Shop Strat. Next is a very groovy guitar. Very groovy, baby! This is a 2017 Fender Custom Shop Blue Flower Telecaster Thinline. So this is a mishmash of influences. There's a 50s style neck in a sort of like a soft V, and a late 60s thin line, but with the blue flower finish that a lot of the solid body Telecasters had in the late 60s for those groovy times. And apart from that, it's kind of stock Fender Telecaster, 3-position switch, brass saddles, the Fender bridge plate, great sounding pickup, strong bridge pickup, and quite a strong neck pickup as well. No muddiness at all. It's quite a strong, beefy pickup. And it's semi-hollow. So you can see the block, which starts about there. It's a Thinline. But that colour, I just couldn't resist it. In fact, this is the only guitar that I've actually special ordered. So it was in the catalogue for 2017. And I got in contact with Guitar, who are a Fender custom shop dealer. And I asked them to make me this. So I specially ordered it. So it was made for me by the Fender custom shop. The only time I've ever done that. And the price was a bit more than the 2014 Strat, but not that much more, because I didn't, pay a lot of money for this. In comparison to ones that you see today, the prices have just gone off the scale. I'd be very reluctant to buy a Fender custom shop instrument now. That's why I bought Silver Skies. But this has got a great feeling neck. It's got all the relicing. It's got the cracking of the blue flower, kind of like wallpaper underneath the finish. Very light. And it's got all the bite and warmth and the great middle position that a great Telecaster should have. A limited edition 2017 model that I ordered directly from Fender. So going back to 1968 now, and I've got my 1968 Gibson Les Paul custom reissue. It was the first time that Gibson had properly reissued this guitar with the gold plating, the correct neck angle, the gold plated hardware, the ebony board. It's a 2015 model. Now, the American government had problems with Gibson around about 2015, so Gibson started using Richlite as a man-made material, which apparently isn't bad at all. But this still's got the ebony, so they were faithful to the 1968 specs. It's got a new nut on it because the nut that came with the guitar was faulty. I bought from Guitar Village, and I wasn't particularly happy with the service that I received from them, so just be wary of Guitar Village, in my opinion. But it's a VOS finish, and in good condition. Black is always a funny colour. You can never quite get it. I've put fingerprints in it already, just handling it like that, right? So wear white gloves if you don't want smudges in your guitar. Anyway, I like to wipe things down after I play them, right? Because I want to, keep them in good condition. I'm not hashy with my guitars at all. So things that are worth it are worth looking after. You've got to respect things that cost you money, right? Not overly so. But this is a great guitar. It's incredibly heavy, but at the same time very lively, which is a strange conundrum. So it makes you question this internet wisdom about heavy guitars being dull. Heavy guitars can sound bright and lively and full of life and funky and all the things that I appreciate in the guitar sound. Life to the bass notes, for example. The neck pickup in this is full and jazzy, and the bridge pickup is bright and cutting. And in the middle there's this interesting marriage of the two. So it's quite an interesting guitar. It doesn't sound like my Les Paul Standard, a 59 reissue. It's got a sound of its own. I've thought about selling it a number of times. I remember one time I had it for sale in Reverb, and I was talking to somebody about purchasing it, and he was very keen on buying it from me. And I panicked. In fact, I woke up at night and went to switch the computer back on and removed it from sale, because I'm not going to sell it. So I've made my decision, and it's just too good. It's a fantastic sounding Les Paul Custom 68 reissue. And now finally, last but very much not least, is my 1965 Fender Jaguar in Candy Apple Red. So this is something that I shouldn't have bought, but life is short and guitars can be forever. This is a fantastic guitar. I also bought from Johnny, so I've bought 3 guitars from him, so he owes me a cup of coffee. So this one is it's got a green guard on it. I've put the usual stay trem arm, done nothing else to it though. Didn't need it. Didn't need a refret, doesn't need a nut. It was set up by Bob. He did a light fret dressing on it because there was a fret high in the second position, so he fixed that and brought it into perfect playing condition. So these things are fantastic. The 65 is the fantastic staggered pole piece sound, veneer board. 65, 66 pickups are great. It's got the L plate, and look at that luscious candy apple red, one of the best finishes. I also like Fiesta and Dakota as well, by the way, but they're a bit more expensive. This was a bit more common. This is a Fender custom color from 1965 with matching headstock, in great shape, and I play this one a lot. Just a fantastic sounding guitar. I love the Fender Jaguar vibrato, tremolo, whatever you want to call it, because it stays in tune. I anchor my hand on the bridge, so using this kind of system, I don't put it out of tune when I'm playing normally, and with the stay trem, it just stays exactly where you want it. And I've not changed the mute material, and it's a little briquette of God knows what, some sort of irradiated muck. It's a black gooey mess. It's not gooey, it's brick hard, and I could change it, but I don't use it anyway. So this is my last guitar. Now I hope this wasn't too long. I just thought I would do a resume of my 2024 guitar collection. One of my favourite YouTubers, Dunsy, and his Guitar World, has done one, and I always enjoy watching Dunsy's Guitar World. He's a funny guy, and I love his playing as well. A lot of people are doing their year-end collections, and I know it's a bit of it's a province of the braggart, isn't it? But what the hell, you know? I thought I would do one too. So that was 2024. I've sold quite a few guitars in 2024. I'm trying to avoid buying any new ones in 2025, but we'll see what happens. Don't expect to buy anything because I think I'm done, but you never know. But anyway, have a fantastic 2025, and I hope all the wars in the world end and the world comes to its senses and we stop promoting war. I know it's good business and everything like this, right? But let 2025 be a year of peace and realization that we're all about community and being nice to each other, and not starting foreign wars and goodness knows what. No more politics. That's the end of it. Have a lovely 2025, and I'll catch you again. Bye bye.